Thank you all very much. Now, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to step away from the lectern here and see if we can operate out of the middle. I'm going to evangelicalise you all so that you understand just how important you all are in the context of the tourism industry. Let me just tell you very quickly who TTF are. We're the peak lobby group for the industry, and we are everybody from the major hotels and restaurants, cruise ships, airlines, airports, all the people you'd expect, plus the big infrastructure builders like Lend-Lease, Keolis, Downer, Transdev, you name it, they're part of the family. So now, given that it's after lunch, and I'm sure you're all feeling very sanguine and your sugar levels are very high, I'm going to get you all now to stand up. This is an engagement session. Everybody on your feet, please. Well done, you're getting there. Okay, so now I want you to stay standing if you actually think you are in the tourism industry. Go on, be honest.
If we are.
Yes, if you are, keep standing. Okay, well that's not bad. Okay, so there's a fair number of you in the room who are appreciating the opportunity, and those that have sat down but are here, well, you know, this is an opportunity to hear what might be possible. So thank you all. You can sit down now. Just wanted to get a snapshot of how you were all feeling in the room about it. So look, I don't think there's any doubt that the seafood industry at all levels, whether it's professional or recreational, is a pivotal part of the Australian offering. And you really do need to focus on the opportunities that are going to come from that simply because of the change to the tourism marketplace. It's no longer about the classic sorts of groups you would have seen before. It is all about Asia, and it's not just about China. And I'm going to unpack that a little bit for you. And I'm just looking, is there a thing here that tells me if I'm out of time, or are you just going to throw something at me? Excellent news. Okay. So, modern tourism, different kettle of fish. It is all about experiences now. And while there will be visitors who still come here because what they want is to lie by a pool and have a drink with a little umbrella in it, that is not the bulk of the visitor now. The bulk of the visitor is a free and independent traveller who's not going to go where some company told them to go. They're looking for a new experience. And in this space is the future, I think, for your industry and what's possible. It is so much more sophisticated than a visit to the big prawn at Ballina, whether you're a local or whether you've come from overseas now. Now, obviously, we have some classic offerings in the marketplace. We have the absolutely stunningly fabulous Sydney Fish Markets, which is clearly, as you will have seen, about to be even more stunning and fabulous in the not too far distant future. And there is within Asia, I think, a very strong culture around the seafood tourism process. I mean, the Tokyo markets have been a draw card for a very, very long time. And I think here in Australia, there are individual players who are starting to get the messaging around catch and cook and the sort of experiences that might be possible to offer. But I think there's a larger strategic question here about taking up the opportunity as an industry. We've just come off the back of a huge and highly successful campaign that was run by Tourism Australia about Restaurant Australia. Now, whether you felt that or not, and I'm expecting if you sell seafood, you have felt it, that the Asian population has hugely embraced the whole Restaurant Australia concept. But more than that, they don't just want to eat it. They want to go to where it was caught. They want to see how it's cooked. They want to understand the whole chain of the process. And once they understand that, they want to take a picture of it, and they want to take a picture of themselves with it, and they want to load it up to the Wi-Fi, through the Wi-Fi to WeChat, because it is all about the bragging rights. So it's important to understand that difference in that traveller. So I think, you know, what we're now seeing is a bit of a change in the offering in the marketplace, which presents some very real opportunities from your point of view. Whether or not it's fish and chips sold at the local co-op or whatever else where the free and independent Asian visitor has found themselves, or whether it is Bennelong here at the Opera House, which I notice this coming month is having a full month program called Celebrating Our Coastline. And they will have everything from fanshell razor clams to Mooloolaba yellowfin to line-caught Northern Territory red emperor. Well, if that is not an absolutely brilliant opportunity to promote your industry, I'm not certain I know what is. But once again, it will be about whenever those visitors sit down and look at the plate in front of them, they'll want to know how they can then go on and engage with an experience around that food. So I've talked quite a bit about Asia. So let's see if we can get a bit of a snapshot of what the size of that market actually looks like. By 2020, there are going to be 93 cities in China that are bigger than Sydney. Just process that for a minute. At the moment, there are about 120 million Chinese people who travel every year. We get less than 1% of that, but that's still big. By 2020, we expect there to be 200 million Chinese people travelling. Now, the other thing you need to know about the Chinese is that at this point in time, there is something less than 4% of Chinese people actually have a passport. So the potential growth in that market, as you can see, is genuinely enormous. Now, the other part of the change in this marketplace, and you hear a lot of talk about countries where the middle class grows and that makes a new market and they all want to visit, and isn't that terrific? It is. But in China, the middle class is very different to what we've experienced previously. In most Western countries, that middle class component is usually in their 40s or 50s. It's a completely different species of middle class. In China, 2/3 of their middle class, which is massive, is under 30. And all of those people are now looking for an opportunity to travel, to have a unique experience wherever they're going, and as I say, to take the picture and load it up. And of course, we're hoping they've paid for all of it on their Union Pay card. But this is where I think the opportunity is for you as an industry as well. This is an age group that is incredibly focused on health and well-being, and you might not necessarily think so in the first blush, but we have a lot to do with a range of the sort of, high yield demographic people from China, and what they're telling us is increasingly as their revenues are going up, their income is going up, they've got more money in the bank, they're starting to focus on the healthy. And here in Australia, that means healthy food, it means blue sky. In fact, if you talk to most Chinese visitors, the first thing they will say is it's all about the blue sky here in Australia because we can't get it at home. The other thing you need to know about China and visitors here to Australia is that we're what they call an itinerary destination. The most popular place for young, well-heeled, got lots of money Chinese at the moment is the Maldives. And the reason it's the Maldives is because the travel agent in China can hold up one picture of a fabulously bling-bling resort, and they'll say you can go there and lie by the pool, and if you feel like it, you can go somewhere else. Much easier to sell. So selling an itinerary destination like Australia, where they've got to go to quite a few places really to get the benefit of the exercise, is going to be all about the content. Because while they might want to go and look at something, they want to experience something while they're there. And given the huge focus on coastal, this is, once again, I think, a serious opportunity, almost like the blueprint was written to give this industry a greater opportunity to be part and parcel of the marketplace. So, I'm not being terribly subtle here, but I think the important message is to encourage you to really and genuinely think about yourself as part of the visitor economy, because it's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger over the next few years, and more and more and more of it will be about food. We've talked about China, but you don't actually have to look much further than Indonesia. I mean, we're actually looking at a population there of 250 million with the same sort of growth in middle class, even though it's culturally slightly different. So that and countries like India, which are also going to present us with extraordinary opportunities in the next couple of years, have got to be top of the pops. The other parts of the tourism industry that I think you should probably at least be alert to as presenting some other opportunities for collaboration. Increasingly for the aviation industries, it will be all about sustainable routes will be those in which they can fill a cargo belly. And we will be seeing more and more secondary airports around the country that have international access and an opportunity for localised produce that might not necessarily thought of themselves as exporters previously, taking up those opportunities. Classic example is Canberra Airport and what it might give some of the areas around that in terms of new mechanisms for getting those goods out in the belly of Singapore Airlines jets. The other one is national parks. There is an increasing awareness at government and commercial level that national parks are probably one of the least used assets in the country. There are 95 million hectares of national parks and protected territory in this country. Less than 4% of international visitors go anywhere near them, and that includes the Great Barrier Reef. Governments at every level, state, federal, local, whatever, are now starting to focus on the value of those assets and how they bring more people to them, and what the infrastructure that might be necessary and the offering that should be necessary to get people there. So from your industry's perspective, whether it's recreational fishing or, once again, professional, I think there are some collaborative opportunities there to keep in mind. I think the other thing to keep very much front of mind is it's not just about the time they're here in Australia for their first, second or third leisure visit. We know from research that LEK has done in the last 18 months that if they come here for a leisure visit, there's something like 40% more inclined when they get home to buy Australian produce. And that means what you produce. So for all of you who sat down, I hope you might have a bit more of a thought process now and understand that not only are you part of that visitor economy and the tourism industry, but you're a wonderful and critical part of that industry, and we're very grateful that you are. So thank you very much.